This video will describe the different editions of CompleteFTP server. There are 4 different CompleteFTP editions: the free edition, standard, professional, and enterprise. I have the standard edition installed here, and you can see the manager is up and running. We have an overview, the settings, users, got one user, folders, default folders, monitoring screen, admin settings, and licensing. And you can see that the edition is the standard trial edition. The standard edition is for those who want the essential features of FTP, FTPS, and SFTP for the lowest possible price. It covers a lot of the things you might want to do, and for a basic server that supports SFTP and FTPS, it might suit your purposes. Now, the professional edition supports all the same protocols as the standard edition, but it includes a few extra things. Now, if we're running a trial edition, what we can do is we can go to the licensing panel. If you see here, compare editions, if you click on compare editions, what will happen is it will take you to a web page showing all the different features, and it's displayed here: the free, standard, professional, enterprise. Shows you all the different features and lets you know which features are in which edition. So that's quite useful to take a look at. Now, in the trial you can also switch to another edition. It brings up a box that shows the 4 editions. We're currently in standard. Well, we have a quick look at free. If we go to the free edition, it tells you the features that will be removed: SFTP, Windows users, macro folders, and so on. Apply the changes, and now we have a trial of the free edition. See, what's changed is in the settings we now have FTP and FTPS, but SFTP is no longer there. The free edition only supports FTP and FTPS. Still a competitive product. It does over and above what FileZilla server does, and you have the option of converting to other editions that support other protocols. Now, if we switch back to the standard edition, you'll see that in the settings we now have the SFTP settings. And everything else remains the same. The professional edition includes everything in the standard edition, but a few extra protocols. Let's switch to that and take a look. Okay, a few important things to note. We now have settings for HTTP and HTTPS. And we now have SCP as well. SCP is possible secure file copy, which also, like SFTP, runs over SSH. SSH forwarding, SSH terminals. So some useful features there. Also includes groups and, importantly, events. The professional edition includes things called process triggers, email notifications, and auditing. For a process trigger, if I add a process trigger, what I can do is every time I upload and download a file, for example, I can choose a program or write a batch script, PowerShell script, or even an FTP script. I can enter these scripts and they will be run every time these events happen when it matches the folder filter. So it's a very powerful thing That is part of the professional and higher editions process triggers. You can also do scheduled events. So I can schedule an event at a specific time or interval, and so you can have a particular process triggered every hour, every 5 minutes, or whatever you decide. On a similar note, you can have email notifications also for upload, download, different events there. Again, filters and email lists can be sent to certain people and so on. And you can add your message and the subject and who the email should be sent to and so on. You also enter the details of the SMTP server that emails will be sent from. Auditing, you can switch auditing on and off, and that keeps track of what's actually going on the server, files that are uploaded and downloaded and so on. So that is the professional edition. There's a bit more in monitoring. You get performance charts of transfers and so on. You get power over auto banning. If you go to the settings, you can change the auto banning settings here. Number of failures allowed and so on. Also supports file sharing and zip file navigation. So you can actually navigate into zip files that are on the server from a client. So Professional Edition does allow a lot of extra things to be done, such as events, HTTP, HTTPS, SCP, and so on. That's Professional Edition. And what about the Enterprise Edition? Well, let's upgrade to the Enterprise Edition and take a look. We're in the Enterprise Edition now. What have we got that's extra? Well, there's servers. An important thing that the Enterprise Edition supports is clustering, and so what you can do is have a number of server instances all working together. You configure one server as the primary server, and the synchronization of that server is sent to all the servers in the cluster. So you might have, say, 3 servers, and all configuration changes are controlled through the primary server and are propagated out to the secondaries. So they can be used for failover and so on. You still need to have a method of synchronizing files underneath that. Often Microsoft cluster services or something like that is used. You also have multiple sites. We have a default site here. A site is a group of protocols and port numbers. So the default site includes FTP and FTPS. They're always on by convention on port 21. SFTP and SCP are on port 22. HTTP is on port 80. HTTPS is on port 443. Now you can create a new site. We go down here to add site. Generates a new set of server parameters such as key pairs and certificate and so on. Takes a moment to do that. And now we have a new site. And this site, go to the advanced settings, you'll see that it has a different set of port numbers for FTP and FTPS. Implicit mode FTPS. Same for SFTP, it's on 1022. So we have a new group of protocols and ports listening on these port numbers separate to the default site. Now what you could do is have external users connect to this site, have this listening on one particular network interface, and the default site might be for internal users. So your firewall would direct users to port, who come in on port 22 or 21, actually to go to the internal ports of the 1021 and 1022. So you can have separation between internal and external users. That's one use for multiple sites. Just remove that site now. Now another thing that is new is extensions. No extensions at the moment, but you can customize the server. You can write your own extensions in JavaScript to extend the file system, to change how things are authenticated, custom commands, or you can actually do .NET extensions. You can load DLLs that you've written yourself that are loaded by the server to extend the file system, extend the events, change how authentication is done, maybe your own custom authentication, even add new commands to the server. So it's a very powerful way of extending the server yourself. And that's only in the Enterprise Edition. And the final thing that you can do is, when you add folders, is you can add gateway folders. Now, a gateway folder is a special folder. It's actually a folder to another server. So CompleteFTP acts as a proxy for another server. So what you can do is have, if you've got an old legacy server that does FTP, say, and you don't want to replace that server, but you want to secure access to it, you can place CompleteFTP in front of that server, have all your users connect to CompleteFTP, a proxy in a secure manner, such as SFTP, but you can proxy those requests to the legacy server. And so all your external users have secure access, and they are still able to access the old server as if it's in CompleteFTP. So it's kind of a way of mounting that old server as a folder in CompleteFTP. So that's a very useful extra feature as well. Well, finally, we'll switch down to the free edition. So I'll just do it gradually down to professional. You can see as you downgrade, it tells you some of the features that you will be losing. Multiple sites clustering, the multi-protocol gateway, all the extensions. Go down to professional and to standard edition, HTTPS. I didn't mention the web-based file manager before. SCP, Windows users are part of the professional edition that domain users that you don't get in the standard edition, email notifications, triggers, and quite a few other things. Now we're in the standard edition. Oops. Clicked on the wrong button there. We want to switch to the free edition, and free edition doesn't have SFTP, doesn't have Windows users, network folders, or file name filtering. And now we're in the free edition. As I mentioned before, free edition is still a very powerful server for FTP and FTPS, and if you check how it matches up against FileZilla, you'll see there are some significant advantages. The primary ones being you can pay for support and get commercial support, and there's a clear upgrade path to other protocols and capabilities. And that is a comparison between the different editions available in CompleteFTP.